States. He is the top dog. And then recommendations must be submitted within 3 to 5 years of the act and presented within 5 years. But this seems to have been somewhat fluid. The last two medals, medals of honor that were awarded on this year, July the 3rd, and they were given to the descendants of two gentlemen who fought in the Civil War. Those are the last two that were actually awarded. They were the two people that were given their medals were part of what was called Andrew's Raid, and other medals had been given for that same action, so they felt that these two gentlemen should have their medals upgraded to the Medal of Honor. So this presented within 5 years is somewhat fluid. What does the medal represent? And that is where we're going to talk the most today. You'll see them over my head, these three words. We call it HIP, honor, integrity, and patriotism, if that helps you to remember it. Honor is respect or high esteem. You honor people that you come in contact with, people that your teachers, your parents, there's a lot of people that you show respect for, correct? You guys show respect? Number one person to honor, though, would be the guy you see in the mirror. You have to show yourself honor. If you will honor yourself, then you will make good decisions for yourself. And if you make good decisions for yourself now, success comes much easier down the line. The great, and I say this, I mean this, the great Coach Prime, he talks about living like there is a tomorrow. That's living with honor. Making mistakes today that will help you to go far tomorrow. That's honor. You honor your flag. We're going to talk a little bit about that later. Honor those who are in authority. But number one, honor yourself. Integrity. Integrity means, does anybody know right off the top of their head? What does integrity mean? Integrity means that you help somebody? Absolutely. Okay, way back there in the back, you got to talk real loud. Doing the right thing when nobody is looking. That's it. That's what integrity means. Integrity means doing the right thing basically because it's the right thing to do, right? It means doing what you say you will do. My daughter played soccer, and there was this other kid on the soccer team that was always yelling, "Mine, my ball, my ball." Even when they were nowhere in the vicinity of the play, he was yelling, "Mine." And I asked her, I said, "Does that bother you?" And he says, "Oh, we just don't listen to him." And it's like, that's not integrity. That's the opposite of integrity. When you say that you can do things and then not follow through. Integrity means following through and doing what you say you're going to do, helping people. I like that. And then there's the word patriotism. What does patriotism mean? Is it cool to be a patriot? Some people think so, some people don't. I'm going to tell you what my version of patriotism is. I was watching the news this morning, and I saw a woman holding a child, probably 2 years old, 2-year-old girl, looking at a giant missile that had landed near their home. This is in Israel. They were looking at a giant missile that landed near their home. Patriotism is those men and women who, wear all kinds of uniforms, who are making sure that those missiles do not land in our backyard. So that our dreams, our objectives can be our dreams and our objectives. If you look around this room, you will find a whole lot of individuals who went to other places such as Iraq, Afghanistan, Korea, Japan, Italy, France, Germany, so that the fight stayed over there and didn't come here. We owe all of those people a huge debt of gratitude. When you see somebody in fatigues, when you see an old guy with a Vietnam hat on, when you see other veterans that are out there, say thank you. It's a small thing to do, but it means a lot. Being a patriot doesn't have to be, going to parades or anything like that. But I encourage you to look around and look at what you have and be thankful for what you have because of what somebody else did for you. It goes generationally, and hopefully we can always keep it over there. But there will be a time when our young men and women will have to rise up. Every generation since the Revolutionary War, every generation has risen up to protect the United States. And it'll be your turn someday. I hope that you're prepared. I hope you have it in you. I hope it have in your heart to be patriotic enough to protect the ones that you love, to put yourself out there. That's patriotism. That's pretty heavy, right? I think so. It's important, though. And that's why this medal represents those things: honor, integrity, and patriotism. So now I'm going to show you a video, and this is of Medal of Honor recipients, and they're telling you what they see in honor, integrity, and patriotism.
Honor is something that you earn, but you never seek.
You have to honor your values. You have to honor your family. You have to honor your country.
It's all from inside coming out.
There's nothing if there's not any honor. If you don't have honor, you miss the boat.
Integrity is your most valuable asset. And if you ever jeopardize it or lose it, you'll never get it back.
We all know what the right thing is. Now, whether we do it or not is an entirely different thing. But we all know what the right thing is. That's the integrity, when you know it and you do it.
If you're gonna say something, you do it.
You can carry that into any job. You can carry it into your family. You can carry it into your church. You can carry it into your community. You can carry it into be a Medal of Honor recipient.
Patriotism speaks for itself. Love your country. Give back to your country.
And you got to feel it within yourself, in your heart. That's where patriotism comes from.
This is my country, and I'm a patriot. I will defend the flag.
Patriotism is not that we're going to take and fight a war or do something like that. Patriotism is for the country, building the country to be something that's better than what it was, better than you found it. That's patriotism to me.
In many ways, wearing the medal is much more difficult than it is to receive it or earn it. And the main reason for that is the tremendous honor that it is to be awarded the Medal of Honor, but in doing so, you represent all those veterans that don't have a voice. And it's so important that we're able to express to the country what it is to be a veteran and to fight for the country, to make sacrifices for our way of life and our beliefs.
The Center for American Values is a feature attraction on the Pueblo Riverwalk. More than 100,000 students have participated, empowering them to identify and define the personal attributes that relate directly to American values. This hardcover book is a special collection of quotes that reflect the honor, courage, and humility of our most decorated war heroes.
And we ought not to look on anyone as a hero unless they're not also a good person. That should be the essence of a hero.
Enjoy this extraordinary collection of photographic portraits and documentation of more than 160 Congressional Medal of Honor recipients.
All the individuals in that clip fought during Vietnam. Does anybody in here, do you have grandfathers or great-grandfathers who fought in Vietnam? Very good. Be sure and tell them thank you for your service. It was a big deal. So this is a timeline of events. In 1862, President Lincoln signed into legislation creating the Medal of Honor. So it started in, the Medal of Honor started during the Civil War. At that time, there was only one medal, only the Medal of Honor. It was during that time that the only woman who ever received the Medal of Honor served. She was a contract surgeon named Mary Walker, and she earned her medal by working in the hospitals and working on men from both sides and saving lives. She was later determined that that honor should not be hers. So they asked her to give it back, really. They asked her to return it, and she said, I don't think so. And she still has it. She's said to be buried with it. So, but it was President Clinton who restored that honor to her. President Roosevelt then signed an executive order decreeing that the Medal of Honor be presented in a formal ceremony. President Roosevelt is significant because he is the only president who has also been a Medal of Honor recipient, and his son also received the Medal of Honor. All branches of the armed forces now have a medal, and when I give you a chance to look around the back, the medals are in that glass case. You can look at them and see what they look like close up. Those medals were never awarded to anyone. They don't have anybody's name on them. They're just for our display, but they are actual medals. And then it was President Eisenhower who signed the Congressional Charter, creating the National Medal of Honor Society in 1958. Here's some statistics. 3,519 recipients. Only 3,519. Most of them were given during the Civil War, but you also have to look at the fact that about 40% of the time, the Medal of Honor is given posthumously. Do you know what that word means, posthumously? They died during their action, and they're awarded the medal after their death. That means posthumously. Out of 40 million, approximately 40 million people who have served in one of the branches of government or the branches of service, 3,519 isn't that many. Currently, as of today, there are 60 living recipients. March 25th is National Medal of Honor Day. If you need another reason to party, March 25th. And there are currently 4 recipients, Medal of Honor recipients, all who came from Pueblo, Colorado. So we're going to talk just a little bit more about them. This is Medal of Honor Plaza. Do you know where that is here in town? Yeah, we're gonna have opportunity to look at it closer later in your field trip. But the quote that is out there is given. It was President Eisenhower when he was presenting Mr. Jerry Murphy with his medal that said, "What is it? Something in the water out there in Pueblo. All you guys turn out to be heroes." That's why Pueblo, Colorado has earned the moniker the home of heroes. Now let's talk a little bit about the Pueblo 4. I'm going to give you an opportunity to just stand up and turn around, and if you can, take a look quickly at the 4 recipients. They're all along that back wall. So I don't want anybody to strain their neck, but that is our Pueblo 4, and we're going to talk in depth about each and every one of them. First, we're going to talk about Mr. Bill Crawford. He fought with the Army during World War II. He grew up here in Pueblo. He graduated from Central High School, the same Central High School that still stands today right there on Ormond. It's still the same school. That's where he graduated. He received his medal for, he was a scout. I'm going to play a little video that's going to tell a little bit more about his story. But if you look at that picture, if you all can see that, can anybody tell me what president that is? Yes. It's Ronald Reagan. Why would Ronald Reagan be giving Bill Crawford a Medal of Honor? The timelines don't match, but we're going to hear all about that. His extraordinary story. I'm going to show you a clip now about Bill Crawford.
The most dramatic thing, I think, when I had this guy's head in my sight, that was the most dramatic thing. But it didn't bother me to throw hand grenades and fire at him, but just to shoot someone right without him looking at you was, it's a heck of a feeling. It's hard to describe, something like that.
I was just sitting down the hall here in my room as a cadet. My roommate was studying, and I was reading this story about the march up the Italian boot and the tough time that the American military, the GIs were having as they pressed down or up the peninsula. And they were talking about unit specifics, which I enjoy reading about, and they were commenting on specific organizations and people and deeds of people and how tough it had been for them. And I came across the name Bill Crawford. At first it didn't dawn on me, and then it got into the part about the Medal of Honor. And I went back and I read it again, and the name, there was something there, but I wasn't catching it. And then finally it dawned on me. And I remember looking over at my roommate and I said, "You're not going to believe this, but I think Bill Crawford received the Medal of Honor. I think our janitor wears the Medal of Honor."
On September 13, 1943, United States Army Private Bill Crawford was with the 36th Infantry on an assault of Hill 424 near Altavilla, Italy. At the point position, out in front and alone, the young scout encountered not just one, but 3 well-camouflaged enemy machine gun nests hidden in the hillside. With gunfire raging all around, Crawford dove for cover in a small ravine. Acting on his own, without orders, Crawford made the decision to crawl through the ditch and position himself just a few feet behind the Nazi gunners. Summoning a burst of courage, he took on the better-equipped enemy with only grenades and his M1 rifle.
On his own initiative, he first attacked one of the machine gun emplacements, then turned to attack the second.
Altogether, he knocked out 3 machine gun nests and never got shot himself.
When the dust settled, Crawford had single-handedly wiped out all 3 of the enemy positions. He destroyed their guns and crew, allowing his previously pinned company to advance. The courageous effort earned Crawford the Medal of Honor.
I was astounded at the bravery. My God, the courage that he displayed and the level-headedness and the manner in which he went about it.
Okay, that's Mr. Bill Crawford. I told you I'd tell you about why President Reagan is giving him his medal. So Mr. Crawford, after he did what he did in Italy, he was captured. And he never saw his unit again. They all assumed him to be dead. But he was in a German work camp. And that's where he spent most of World War II, was in a work camp. When they found out that he did receive the Medal of Honor, they sent it to his father here in Pueblo because they thought he was dead. But when a couple of weeks, actually just like 2 weeks later, his father received a letter from him that saying that he was alive and that he was in Germany. After he had a long career in the Army, he moved back to this area, but he was looking for another job. And so he took a job at the Air Force Academy, and we heard it here on the video, as the janitor. He worked as the janitor cleaning up after the Air Force cadets. It was one of the janitors that recognized him and made sure that his medal was given in a public ceremony, and that's when Ronald Reagan came to the Air Force Academy for graduation and presented Mr. Bill Crawford his medal some 50 years later. Isn't that a great story? I love that. Next, we're going to talk about Mr. Carl Sitter. Carl Sitter also graduated from Pueblo Central High School. He fought first in World War II, and then he earned his medal as a tremendous leader during the campaign in Korea. He's still known for his tremendous leadership. I'm going to show a clip now of Mr. Sitter, and he's going to explain how he handles fear.
Every person has fear. The courage is the coming out that you can overcome your fear and carry out the instructions or the duties that you're supposed to do. Believe in God, believe in the commitment that you have as a Marine officer, and have a courage to carry out the orders that you're ordered to do. Laying down in a foxhole and your foxhole buddy raises his head and gets hit in the head and half of it blown off, you really then realize that just how short our lifespan is and just how fragile we as human beings are. When you give your life for your fellow man and your fellow Marine, that is one of the most courageous things that you could do.
In 1950, United States Marine Corps Captain Carl Sitter received orders to take and hold East Hill at the Chosin Reservoir. Carl Sitter gathered his troops and led the way up the steep, frozen hillside. They came under blistering enemy fire and sustained heavy casualties.
Carl Sitter was one of our heroes. When we talked about the Chosin Reservoir and battling in the cold and leading troops in unbelievable conditions, Carl Sitter's name came to the forefront.
When the enemy launched repeated vicious counterattacks, Sitter somehow dodged enemy fire as he found his way to each position held by his troops, spreading encouragement and demanding they hold ground at all costs.
Now, Carl was the guy that really did more than I did, I think, and that was on that hill.
Wounded and fighting off pain, he refused to be evacuated and continued to battle alongside his men.
He inspired us that he knew what he was doing, and as he said, as long as we keep fighting together, we're going to make it all right. We did.
These heroic actions earned Sitter the Medal of Honor.
Okay, that's Carl Sitter. Before I started here, I didn't know a whole lot about Korea. But do you know, they said battling in the cold, but do you know it was 30 degrees below zero? That's cold. You guys want to hear something gross? Yes? It was so cold that when the guys pulled off their boots, sometimes their toes would come with them. It was cold. It was too cold to cook. You couldn't light a fire, not even to keep yourself warm or to cook yourself food. So it was dang cold. And there's the Marines are famous for calling this the frozen chosen. It was very cold. It was very dramatic. But there was an instance where they called in that they need more ammunition. And there's a code word in the Marines for ammunition, and that word is Tootsie Rolls. So they called in for more Tootsie Rolls. Do you know what they actually got? Tootsie Rolls. They got Tootsie Rolls. And it was a blessing because that's all they had to eat. It was nice and chewy, and lots of sugar gave them energy. So that's the frozen chosen. When he said battling in the cold, it was battling in the cold. Next, we're going to talk about Mr. Jerry Murphy. And Mr. Jerry Murphy, he graduated from Pueblo Catholic High School here in town. It no longer is. There's no longer a Pueblo Catholic High School, but he graduated from there. He was a tremendous athlete, played football, played baseball. He went to the university. He went to Adams State University on a football scholarship. But when he graduated, he was concerned that he would be drafted because that's when the Korean War was happening. And so he decided that he would actually join the Marines as an officer. So he went to officer training school, and then he was sent over with his men to Korea. He was supposed to leave at January 1st. His 2-year commitment was up, but he did not want to leave his men. He stayed with his men. And you're going to hear a little bit about what Mr. Murphy did. He starts out this clip talking about what he did to actually, what helped him to give him the courage to do what he did in Korea. How he was brought up.
I just think it's something inside that I will have to say is a creator, is our spirit. And what makes that spirit or that person do things, the only way I could say is it probably would have to be training, going way back to your birth. And that's a blessing to have family, schooling, buddies that you play sports with. It's a real blessing that some of this stuff might be in certain people and comes out at a time of need.
Jerry Murphy was the extraordinary guy that lived up to his potential.
His acts of bravery in the cold of Korea are legendary.
Most beautiful thing was when Lieutenant Murphy came up to our rescue.
February 3rd, 1953 turned out to be a dangerous and bloody day. Lieutenant Raymond Jerry Murphy defied his orders in an effort to rescue Marines stranded on the Ungok Hill Mass in Korea.
His orders was to wait, and he didn't. He went ahead and did it, and he did the right thing.
Amidst the chaos, Murphy stood tall, taking command of the stalled assault, and launched a major evacuation effort. In the face of relentless enemy fire, Murphy made trip after trip after trip back up the hill, focused on saving the lives of his buddies.
Lieutenant Murphy made so many trips, I lost count. And he kept going back and forth.
Despite being wounded several times, Murphy was firm. No Marine would be left behind. Murphy was the last man off that mountain.
Only when all had been recovered and evacuated did he allow himself to be evacuated for treatment of his own wounds.
This heroic effort earned Murphy the Medal of Honor.
So that's Jerry Murphy. He actually was shot 4 times. 4 times on that mountain. But yeah, he still was taking care of his men, bringing them down. His portrait is taken at the Santa Fe National Cemetery, and there is a hospital, a veterans hospital in Albuquerque, New Mexico, that is actually named after Jerry Murphy, where he was a volunteer. He was a volunteer there. Okay, so now we're going to talk about Mr. Drew Dix. Mr. Drew Dix, out of the Pueblo Four, is the only one that is currently living today. He is also the co-founder of the Center for American Values, along with filmmaker Brad Padula. They acquired this collection, put it here, always make it for free so that anytime anybody needs just a little bit of inspiration, they can come in and look at the quotes, read the quotes, and be inspired to take on whatever they need to take on. And in this clip, you're going to hear about Mr. Drew Dix talking about who he thinks is a hero.
I think a hero is what someone looks up to rather than what you did. You know, you can be a hero in any walk of life, any profession, any occupation you're in. There's military heroes, there's civilian heroes, police, firemen, they're all heroes, and people look up to them because they lay their life on the line to do things. And I don't like to consider myself a hero, but it's a title only. You know, I don't know that I did anything all that spectacular. I really don't.
If you had 2 more like him, you could march into hell and put the fire out. I can honestly say Drew Dix is one of the few people I've ever seen that had no concept of fear, none whatsoever.
In 1967, Green Beret Drew Dix was assigned to the Central Intelligence Agency.
Drew Dix was involved in some very hairy, clandestine type operations in Vietnam, many of which I'm sure Drew can't talk about.
As the lone American, Dix led Chinese, Cambodian, and Vietnamese mercenaries in unconventional operations.
There's some soldiers, you know, go to fight, you know, a little bit shoot, you know.
During the Tet Offensive of 1968, Dix led a small contingent of troops in a harrowing 56-hour battle with 2 Viet Cong battalions, although outnumbered at least 30-1. The action earned Dix the Medal of Honor.
As one person put it, this is like a real-life Rambo.
Probably one of the finest men I know.
I forgot to tell you that Mr. Drew Dix graduated from Centennial High School. So he was a bulldog, is a bulldog, always a bulldog. So that concludes my portion of this field trip. I will tell you this, that the men that I have met who have portraits on the walls are some of the kindest and most humble men I have ever met. I think that that is a big part of being a hero. And I know Mr. Dix, as when he comes in and he likes to meet with young people, that's his favorite thing. He believes in you very much. He believes that you are the best generation to take over for him. We're all getting older. So he says, I merely hold it in trust the medal for those who never came home alive. That is a very humble statement. If anyone has any questions because of the layout here, I hope that you will find me around the gallery. Otherwise, I'm going to let you look around the gallery, read the quotes. If you have any questions, find me. You'll find several things to look at here. Like I said, we have the portraits, we have the medals in the very back. We also have a case over here on this wall that has a medal from the Civil War. His great-granddaughters live in the Pueblo area, and they donated that to us so that everybody could see it. So that's a Civil War medal along with his firearm. That is not an Army-issued firearm, that's his, but take a look at how big that thing is. So long, it would be so hard and cumbersome. We also have a piece of steel from the World Trade Center, and that is right over here, nestled between these columns. If you would like to touch it, I would encourage you to do so. That is touching a part of history. And finally, the clips that you saw were all from this video set called "The Medal of Beyond the Medal of Honor." If anyone would like one of these sets, please see me or Nicole in the back, and we will give you one of these. We're giving these away, and so then you can watch the entire film on the Pueblo 4. Thank you so much for being here with me. It is always a pleasure to be with young people, and have a great day.